Welcome back. A check on markets now, and those in Asia and Europe have been trading in the red despite government measures to ease the impact of COVID-19. The overriding fear here is that a global recession is coming. Now, the Shanghai Composite Index fell nearly 2% in trade today. Meantime, in Hong Kong, the Hang Seng is down 4%, its lowest close that we've seen since January of 2017. Meantime, South Korea's Kospi declining even more than that, 5% down in trade. Japan's Nikkei, meantime, ended up 1.6% lower. Now, London's FTSE is off by about 5% despite the stimulus package unveiled by the United Kingdom. And the Frankfurt DAX and Paris CAC 40 all down by about the same amount as well. Now, investors, they don't appear very impressed by the Trump administration's $1.2 trillion package to support the world's largest economy either. It will include cash handouts to Americans, as well as relief for small businesses, as well as the airline industry.
The administration has taken decisive action to support American workers and businesses. We love our workers. We love those workers. They're incredible. And we're going to come out stronger than ever before, and it's not going to be so long. The IRS will defer tax payments for affected individuals and businesses. Today, the Senate is taking up legislation to provide for free testing, and that'll happen.
Simon Marks joins us live from Washington now. So, Simon, what can Americans expect from this massive stimulus?
Well, there's several elements to it, Glenda, as you could hear the president there intimating. First of all, on that issue of taxes, April the 15th is tax day here in the United States. It's right around the corner. President Trump and his Treasury Secretary told Americans yesterday they only need to file if they think they're going to get a refund check, that any payments owed to the IRS can be deferred, not just by individuals, but by corporations as well. So not only will the IRS not be taking in money as a result of deferred payments, they're actually going to continue paying money out. Secondly, of course, there's stimulus coming for the airline industry, particularly one of the hardest hit industries here in the United States already, although by no means the only industry. Up to $1 trillion the Federal Reserve is being authorized to spend buying up commercial debt in a bid to provide fresh stimulus to the economy. And there's one other piece of the puzzle that we should be learning more about by the end of the week. The President and Treasury Secretary Steve Mnuchin say within the next couple of weeks, American families may receive a check from the U.S. government. There has been a suggestion here, not confirmed by the White House, that it could be in the amount of $1,000 US. There will be some kind of an income threshold for families to meet in order to receive that check. But this is going to be a direct handout to help American families defray the costs associated with the coronavirus epidemic and the loss of income that already so many families across the United States are experiencing. So a broad package of measures as the Trump administration continues to fling everything that it can from its financial arsenal against coronavirus.
Simon, another part of this seemingly ever-expanding puzzle that we're seeing is that in Asia and in Europe, investors, their unease is persisting despite these announcements. Do you think that Wall Street's in for another rough day ahead?
Well, if you take a look at the Dow Jones futures, it would suggest that sentiment is shared by investors here. The Dow Jones Industrial Average futures currently trading down 3.94 percentage points. The S&P 500 down 3.7 percentage points. So when the opening bell rings here in an hour and 6 minutes, let's see if the Dow Jones and the S&P head into negative territory or whether they claw back some of the ground that they've lost over the last several days. I mean, one of the issues that investors, specifically here in the United States, face is that President Trump keeps intimating that all of this could be over quickly. He used that word several times in his press conference yesterday, and even suggested that the 15-day guidelines that he'd issued to the public about social distancing, well, he said we're now down to 14 days and counting. None of the public health officials flanking him behind that podium share that optimism or confidence, and so investors are having to price into their decision-making their sense that the United States is in for tremendous bumpiness and volatility over not the short term, but the medium term here.
Yeah, we're only in midweek now. How many times a week can you hold your breath on this one? Simon, thank you very much for that. Simon Marks, they were reporting for us from Washington, D.C. Now, a closer look now at the economic stimulus with Jiahe Chen, Chief Investment Officer at Novem Arcae Technologies. Jiahe, over the past 24 hours, we've seen what can only be called a stimulus blitz worldwide, led by the United States. Why are markets not convinced, though?
It is really interesting. I mean, outside the market is really surprised because of the coronavirus. I mean, the impact definitely coming from the coronavirus is much stronger than the impact that the market actually feels from the stimulation package from the governments, especially in markets like Europe or United States or Asia. So it's really this impact. Another thing is that this coronavirus is really taking up all the media, that everyone is looking at that. I mean, we have had a lot of stimulus since 2008. It is a very Euro thing. But when you look at coronavirus, it is really a very new thing that everyone is so surprised. So I would say that's why the market. Also, another reason, very important reason, is that the market has been a very bull market since 2008, especially in countries like the United States. The market has been rising like 400 or 500 percentage points since 2008. So when the market has been rising so much, it is very easy to sell your profit. It's not easy to sell your money, but it's easy to sell your profit. That's why.
Jiahe, you know, saying that the coronavirus is taking up so much airtime now, are governments then being held hostage to the moves of the markets? What else needs to be done to actually ensure sustained recovery then?
Yeah, that's probably one thing. When the market falls so much that the governments will be forced to do something that maybe they don't really think is necessary. For example, cutting the interest rates like the Fed has been doing to zero, which might not be so necessary. But when the market falls so much, they have to do something. Then that's what you said is right. I think the only thing that the governments has to do to counter this coronavirus is counter the virus itself. I mean, other things is not necessary. As long as the virus is gone, everything will go back to normal.
Jiahe, give us your take on what we're seeing with the use of these circuit breakers on Wall Street. They've been triggered at least 3 times in recent days. How meaningful are they, though?
I don't think they're meaningful, not really. I mean, when the market is panicked, if you suspend the trading for a month or a week, maybe that really helps. I mean, for coronavirus, that would take a week. For 911, that's 1 week. For coronavirus, sorry, that would take a month because most pensions will recover maybe in 10 or 15 days. So if you close the market for like a month, that might help. But closing the market for like 15 minutes, that doesn't really help at all. I mean, look at how the market is reacting.
All right, Jiahe, thank you very much for that perspective. We've been speaking there to Jiahe Chen, Chief Investment Officer at Novem Arcae Technologies.